Because the people who serve Yahweh Shai, right? And Yahweh, they, matter of fact, let me get it real quick. This is 1 Corinthians 13:6. It says, rejoice not in iniquity, but rejoice in the truth, right? So rejoice not in iniquity, but rejoice in the truth. We know the truth is love. The truth is Yahweh Shai. The truth is the kingdom. So it says, the ones who serve Yahweh Shem, they're not going to rejoice in iniquity, right? They're going to rejoice in truth, which is love, and everything that comes with the kingdom, a kingdom mind state, right? Let me see. 1 Corinthians 13. So we go to that word rejoice. It says to rejoice, to be glad. Salutations, a hail. Greeting, a salute. Joy. So it's pretty much joy, okay? That's rejoice. Joy, going to party, happy, right? That's rejoice. So the people who serve God don't rejoice in iniquity. Let's go into that word iniquity, actually. It says injustice, unrighteousness. So injustice, iniquity is injustice and unrighteousness. And unrighteousness of heart and life, right? So iniquity is injustice, right? So injustice is what? So justice is something that's fair. Justice is something, now, fair can be what's the word? Relative, right? Depending on the situation. Like, let's say, because fair can be an eye for an eye. Right? Fair can be an eye for an eye. That can be fair in a sense, depending on how you look at it. But we all know when we're gauging something, we're not gauging something based upon a natural way of thinking. We're basing this, brother. We're basing this upon the way the Lord wants things to be. Right? So that's what we're gauging this upon. So when you look at justice, you're talking about fair. Now, when you look at fair in the eyes of God, because injustice is wrong. So to break down injustice, you didn't break down justice. So now, justice is fair. Now, what's fair in the eyes of God? Let's go back to the law. Let me see. I think I knew that by heart. There it is, Leviticus 19. So when you look up, when we're talking about justice of God, right? Let's go back to the law to find that, right? This is justice, and this is justice in the eyes of God. When you talk about, there's only two ways about this: justice and injustice. There's nothing in between. It's either you serve justice or you serve injustice. So let's get what injustice is. And if you're not doing this, right? If you're not doing this, you're doing iniquity. Leviticus 19:17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt anywise Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Right? So that's what justice is. When you love your neighbor as yourself. That's justice. Right? Now here's why that's justice. Now, let's go back to the judicial system, right? If you do a crime, you break a law, there's a penalty on the opposite catch of that, right? Let's say murder, you get 30 years, or you steal, you get 10 years, whatever the case is. For everything you break, there's something on the opposite end, and that's even with the Bible, right? For every sin or law you break, there's something on the opposite end that's going to counteract that. What do they call it? Every action, every reaction, something like that, right? So when you do this, that comes with it, right? And that's with everything. Now, here's the thing. According to the law, right? Here's where justice comes in. According to the law, let's say a female commit adultery, she has to be stoned to death, right? She has to be stoned to death. And a person that she was with. They both have to be stoned to death. Now, people say, oh, that's justice. That's what the law says you got to do, and this is what has to happen. No, that's not justice. On an earthly sense, it's justice. But when you talk about in the eyes of God, that's not justice. And again, let's go back to the law. Leviticus 19:18. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, not that part, this part. But thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Right? That's justice. Justice is when you incorporate love, loving people as yourself. That's where justice comes in at. Right? When you got love for others, as you do yourself, that's where true justice can come in at. Right? That's where true justice can come in at. Now, I'm going to give you an example. So let's say and let's say before you found God, you were a murderer, right? You go to God, you say, hey God, I didn't know murdering was wrong. Can you forgive me for my sins? He's going to say yes, absolutely. Now go follow me, sin no more. That's what's going to happen. Now, you're going to run, that guy is going to run into a murderer, right? Now, how he treats this murderer, let's say he ran into this murderer, and now that the guy knows the law and the penalty of the law, and murdering is wrong, let's say he runs into that murderer and says, you know what? You're a murderer. Since you murdered, you have to be put to death now. Now, on a technical level, yes, that is justice, but here's the problem. There's a problem with that. Since that guy was also a murderer, right? And then he asked the Lord for forgiveness, you got to also keep that same energy. Now that somebody else did wrong, even if that person doesn't want forgiveness, they're going to keep doing wrong. If you decide this person has to pay for their sins, you have to now pay for the sins that you've committed, right? Because just because somebody's sinning now, it doesn't mean they can't repent in the future, right? But if you decide, you know what, I'm gonna take this person's life, you took away his chance to repent, right? So nobody knows who's going to repent and when, right? So just like the guy was a murderer, when he asked the Lord for forgiveness in the beginning, the Lord could have said, nah, I'm gonna kill you. But no, the Lord gave him a chance to repent. He kept him alive through all those murders just to give him a chance to repent at that time, at that specific designated time. So when you carrying out justice, you got to understand that you've also done it, right? And when you want to judge somebody, True justice, true judgment is taking yourself into account. Have I ever sinned? Have I ever broken the law? Right? And that's going to absolutely be a yes. Even if you didn't do it in this life, how can you be so sure you didn't do it in the past life? Because if you did, you on a hook now. Right? You had to know every single life. You had to know every life if you ever sinned. Because let's say you didn't commit a sin in this life, but you commit a sin in your last life, and you judge this guy, you're still going to put to death. Yahweh Shai was put to death in his final life, right, where he was Yahweh Shai, partly for sins that he committed as Solomon, right? Even though as Yahweh Shai committed no sins, he still had to pay for a past life. So